Okay, so tonight's job is a condenser. Air conditioning system's not working on this Corsa, and I've been asked by more and more people to document and live stream what I'm doing, so here we are. So first thing to do is get it up in the air and get the bonnet open, get the bumper off, and see what state the condenser's in and how much it's going to fight us. Supposed to jack on the sills, but I think we'll find a big fat suspension component. I've only used blocks of timber because it won't be going underneath anything, and the likelihood of the jack failing, or both jacks failing, is so mathematically remote it's not worth considering. Bits in the wrong order. Can only be my fault, nobody else uses the set. I'll put screwing that on. These thankfully have electric power steering, so they don't throw any fluid anywhere. There's a series of screws that hold these inner arch liners to the bumper, or the bumper skin at least. There's more screws under here, so these have to come out, and then we can get the bumper skin off. Then there's just a few more fasteners under the bonnet. It's a bit gangly one-handed at the minute. Plastic rivet. Under here, 3 more 8mm, or 4 more 8mm headed bolts. I suppose they're not shanked, so technically they're screws. There we go. And down in here, there's plugs to disconnect. You've got to disconnect the fog light wires. There's no parking sensors to disconnect, and there's no temperature sensor stuck in the front with these. So you just support the bumper skin, tug out the clips, get that other I tell a lie, there is a temperature. There is a temperature sensor. So right there's a temperature sensor that needs disconnecting, and then you have the whole bumper skin in your hand. So now we've got reasonable access to the condenser. I've already pressure tested this with nitrogen and confirmed that it's leaking. So we have a connector down there, and if memory serves, these essentially just clip in. I think there's a couple of clamps and the entire radiator top mount comes off, which allows access. Clip just pinches there, this clip lifts up, this one down here we just push out the way, get a blade and push that out the way. Pops down the side, out the way like that, and then we have the condenser loose, so we just need to disconnect the two connections on the side there, where the two pipes connect. All the valves are separate on this, the pressure switches and things. The receiver dryer is built onto the end of the condenser. So I've already pressure tested this and let the gas pressure back out, so I know there's nothing in it, and I know the condenser's leaking. External Torx where the pipe fits. Use an extension and a wrist amplifier. There we have it. So you can see the telltale sign where all the pag oil's leaked out the back. So, to say, I could hear it leaking around here yesterday, but see, it's in bad condition and it's noticeably wet where the oil's all leaked out. So go and get the new one. We shall file this one ready for the scrap metal pixies, who mysteriously come and take all of the old scrap metal. This looks a little better. Some nice new seals with it. Saves me digging out the box of assorted seals. So we can get rid of the tapes. It's in good order. These tend to come either still pressurised with nitrogen or under a slight vacuum. So we need a 10 to get that out. Yep, still pressurised with nitrogen, that's always a good sign. Gives us confidence that it doesn't leak. So, receiver dryers on the end, it's built onto these, and essentially that's got a desiccant in it to get rid of any moisture that's in there. Because obviously you only want the refrigerant and the lubricating oil. you don't want it to be polluted with any air or anything else. So as you'll see later on when we fit it, we have to we run a vacuum pump for 15-20 minutes and remove absolutely all the air from it. Pop these old seals off. These are always a bit nasty when they've done a few years. They'd probably seal, but you know, you don't want to be letting refrigerant go. Even our 134A's still got quite a GWP. So, go and retrieve some pack oil. Gosh, polyester oil. When you have big hands and you're trying to get a microscopic pull tab open, we have turned on the lumens, so we shall have some more light soon. Take the new seals, just dip them in a little bit of the pag oil just to help. Bring you in a bit closer. So we're going to pop these two seals on here. These are like the hydraulic seals, so they have a rubber ring inside a soft metal washer. And just like everything, they're really tight when they're new. Nope, that's not going to go on there, so I shall have to get one out after all. A new one, give it a swirl in the oil. Pop it on the pipe. Seat the pipes in. Put the cap on the oil because otherwise I'm going to knock it flying. Put a bit of copper slip on the end of this bolt where it goes in to try and stop the dissimilar metals action, because nothing seizes quite like air conditioning pipe clamp screws. Nothing like trying to turn a slick ratchet with oily hands. Nice and firm. Before we put the front back together, well, to get better access to the ports, we'll take this off because the two ports are just down there in a really irritating place. The wonderful job of trying to put the hoses on one-handed, so we've got the high pressure and the low pressure port just down here. High pressure port on, or rather the low pressure port and then the high pressure port. essentially refrigeration is incredibly simple, or the principle of gas refrigeration is incredibly simple. You have a volume of refrigerant in the system which is at room temperature and pressure it would be entirely a gas, it would boil away. So essentially what happens is the compressor down here compresses the gas into the condenser at the front, and either the ram air or the fan running behind will use ambient air to cool the refrigerant down and get it to condense into a liquid, hence the term condenser. It's then delivered under pressure into the evaporator inside the car, and then when you release that pressure, just like when you use an aerosol for a long time, you feel the aerosol get very cold, or like a propane cylinder, if you use it very heavily the outside freezes. Essentially the liquid refrigerant then boils, and when it boils its temperature plummets, so you end up with the cooling inside the car. But obviously it relies on containing a specific volume of gas. You need a very accurate volume or the suction pressures and the pressure differential won't be right. So the systems almost always have a label on them which tells you how much refrigerant and what type. So in this case it uses a specified oil, R134A, and 0.47 kilos, so 470 grams, usually give or take 10%. And obviously other warnings, automatic fans, don't put your hand down there, it might start without warning, etc. But what we're interested in is 0.47 kilos, that we've got the right refrigerant and we've got the right oil. So my nitrogen supply is a bit leaky, but we'll pressurise the entire system to about 10 bar. So we're going to construct some additional lumens. Make sure that our junction to the condenser isn't leaking. So there's not a hint of a leak down there. And we no longer have our hissing up here. It's holding pressure very nicely. So we can move on to the next step. Obviously I've already checked all of the other joints, all of the junctions to the compressor, to the evaporator, all the pipe work, because I've already diagnosed this car. They've already been in, I've already worked out where the leak is and what the problem is. So I'm perfectly content that as long as this is okay and the condenser isn't leaking, then we're good. So now on to the next step. To let that pressure go. And get the exhauster pump. So we're going to pull a vacuum in this for a period of probably 20 minutes. During which time I'm going to put the front of the car back together. So this line set is designed specifically so the pipes are just too short to hang it anywhere. So a bit of a reverse. The first thing we're going to do is put the temperature sensor back on. fog light wire back on. And a couple of the screws back in. Reseat the bumper. Hopefully the clips didn't break. Nope, we look to have gotten away with that. They're usually a kind of one-shot deal because you can't really get in there to get them out. Screws back in here. The steering over the other way. So we are back on, bumper is back on. So go and fetch the weighing engine. Valve him over and measure in the required amount of pag oil. Put the pickup pipe into the pag oil and we open the valve, watch the oil go through the sight glass. Measuring the oil. I've put a bit of fluorescein in it as well, so should we have any additional leaks in the future we can identify it with ultraviolet light. We have here the digital gravity interface, so we want liquid offtake, so we'll tip that upside down, put it on the plate of the digital gravity interface. And we want, what did we say, 470 grams. So when that drops to 7076 we should have the right amount of gas in. We'll start the gas flowing. Is this where we find the refrigerant bottle is empty? That would be quite tedious. It actually is. When I did the Holden Monaro earlier on in the week, that had obviously had used up every drop of the gas. So that'll be us taking a break till tomorrow when I can get another cylinder. Ho hum. So the observant among you will notice that we're in a Montego this morning. The relevance of this will become apparent in a future project and video series. 20 years ago when I built the previous version, I documented it mainly using photographs. However, since then video technology has come a long way and sites where it's practical to share this sort of video series have come along. I will record the project involving this Montego, not really to hear people's opinions but more for people to join me on the ride, as it were. Here we are. I can pick up another cylinder of refrigerant now. £200 and an F-gas certificate later. Before the heat rave in 2018, one of those cylinders cost about £60. It went up to 200 or 250 and has never come down. Well, here we are on day 2, so I just removed the spider from my hair. The line set is all purged and cylinder is swapped over. So let's try that again, shall we? We want to see that go down to 19,100 or thereabouts. All the nice flowy noises in the sight glass. Sometimes you have to run the engine and get the suction side pressure down, but we'll see how much it takes. It might do it. It's getting close. That's it seating the receiver dryer. So when we get somewhere near here, we'll stop the filling. Then we'll turn the cylinder up the right way and get the last bit of liquid out the line. Just get that bit of liquid out. $19,096, that's near enough. That should be a nice full charge. We'll leave the line set on so we can see the pressures and things as it's running. No obvious hissing, no obvious bad noises. And again, we pressure tested it. So in theory, we should see a pressure differential. However, it's not playing. It's just starting. There we go. This doesn't have a mechanical clutch on it, it's got a proportional valve, so it basically varies the pressure differential as it needs it, so you can be more efficient over a wider rev range. That's working really nicely. Pressure differential's good. It's quite unusual because these little engines are they have a timing chain which is notorious for the tensioner going and the timing chain sounding like it's going to jump out, but they're unlike the BMWs. These will rattle for like 100,000 miles and not cause any problems, but this one's really quiet, which is unusual. However, we are basically done here, the job's finished, so I shall take the gauges off, pack everything away and phone them to come and fetch it. I really didn't want to buy another can of refrigerant this year, but I've done so much air conditioning work over the last few months that it's been worthy of a certificate, I think. And the next job of the day is just arrived. Got to knock a dent out of a Skoda. And then later on we've got to put some doors on the Volkswagen. And while we're at it, we'll just make sure his coolant's at the right level. Make sure the brake fluid actually does want changing, so I'll let them know they could do with that changing. Plenty of screen wash in the reservoir, so I think he's good to go. Job's a good one.